Welcome to the October release preview for Business Central, and a warm welcome to our BC, NAV and GP customers. Amanda here from marketing, and I'm joined by the two architects today, Tim Shaw from Microsoft and Karen Blake from our in-house team at MicroChannel. So handing over to Tim.
Hi, everybody. My name's Tim Shaw. I'm a partner technical architect for business applications from Microsoft. What that actually means is I work across a number of the Microsoft Dynamics 365 products, including Business Central, and help our partners enable solutions around those, as well as enablement in the actual solutions. So I'll continue on. So today we're going to talk about a number of things. So this is a preview, right? So normally what happens is we release a product and then you get told about the product afterwards. This time we're trying to get a little bit ahead of the game and make sure you understand what you need to do, but also let you know some of the things, release themes and some specific items that are coming in the preview. And then we'll talk about migrating and updating and some of the benefits and tools that are available. So let's talk about themes. So when we plan for a product release, so most of you on the phone will hopefully know that we have major updates in April and major updates in October of the products, and we call them waves. So we have wave 1 and wave 2 each calendar year. Wave 1 in April, wave 2 in October. And the idea is we put together a number of themes of what we're trying to achieve in these releases, and then those themes become reality in the product in a number of different ways. So for the October release, which is not too far away, our key themes include seamless service. And this is really going to the next level in a world-class SaaS solution where the service is just running and it's going up and down and providing resources, etc., as required by our customers across the board. And what I would say, the way I explain this is Business Central is doing very well in this area. And in fact, I think we're up near 95% from a rating perspective, and from a service reliability, we're quite close to the 100%, 99 point something or rather. The way I look at seamless service is it's like your home experience with your internet. So you come home, you're using the internet at night time, it performs so speed, and in these terms, so performs at a consistent speed, or up and down speed actually at night time. And in these times where a lot of us are working from home, you would have noticed at first, I know I did, it was all great during the day, but at 3 o'clock, all of a sudden my service would start to decrease, my speed would decrease, and my internet connection would actually, and sometimes actually not be good at all. And I think that's for us, what we want is a seamless service. So you get that consistent experience with Business Central, consistent speed throughout the day, not super speed, then slow speed, super speed, then slow speed. And that's what seamless service is about. Productivity is about how you use the solution. So how does it respond when I'm in the web browser, I'm using the web browser, and I'm going from field to field? How quickly does it do that? And when I go to do a specific task, how quickly and how many buttons do I need to press to do that particular task? So productivity is about bringing the systems together, making sure things run in an efficient and speedy manner, but also giving you the tools as a customer to actually decide which button is next and decide which fields show. And that's what productivity is about. Power Platform integration. So back in April, we released our first update for direct CDS integration, and we continue to work with that, and we will continue to release new functionality around that. Where we are today, from a development perspective, you can connect to the Power Platform, and the Power Platform is another way of enhancing the application and building other applications that use data from Business Central. An example of this is I've got a customer that does a process when they need to modify their invoices. That process is actually now a Power App. It used to be something in SharePoint. It's now a Power App. But when you're actually entering that particular request, you can search and choose the customer, and the details from the customer and the customer invoices come through directly from Business Central. So the customer doesn't have to retype everything into the actual form. Most of the fields are already populated, and that's integration. That's done by the Power Platform integration, the Common Data Service integration, and it doesn't rely on you having Dynamics 365 Sales or customer service or any of the other products. Then probably not so exciting on this call, but development tools. So our development tools and platform to enable productivity from our partners when they're developing new applications, and also reliability when they're updating or upgrading applications, is always been paramount, and we're extending more functionality to make their life easier and faster, which hopefully will result in more productivity for you as a customer as well. Then we look at our Office 365. So many of you would have seen that when you go into Outlook, you can have a Business Central button that will open up and tell you the details of the customer, or even create a quote or a sales order or a purchase order or a purchase invoice directly from Office. Geographic expansion. So we already look after a number of countries worldwide, which includes countries like Australia, New Zealand, US, UK, Canada, Denmark, etc., etc. There's so many of them, too many to list. So we're adding more of these countries, and more in Asia Pac. Around India is coming, and then there's also others. What it basically means from a Business Central perspective is I can create multiple production environments and have those production environments for those regions. So the way Business Central works is if I want to run Business Central in Australia, no problems. It works. That's what you purchase when you're in Australia. That's what you use. But if I want to also use it in the US, then you can get a tenant for the US with the localizations for the US, and then you'll be able to actually work in the US as well as Australia. And the other thing that's important on that is that when you do that, the data for the US is actually in the US, the data for Australia is actually in Australia. But if you need more information on that, then please reach out to us, and we'll give you more details. And then custom migration tools. So going from one system to another system can always be challenging. So if I'm bringing from an older version of Nav, or I'm coming from a version of Great Plains, then that can be challenging. Our migration tools that we've come out with support Great Plains from GP 2015 upwards, and they support Nav from a base point of Nav 14 to get you to the cloud. The GP one in particular is designed to enable you to, if you don't want to do a re-implementation, to take things as they are forward. But it's also designed to actually help you if you are doing migration, where it will give you a view of what it's going to look like once you get to that point. Now, we do publish our plans, and they are plans, so always subject to change based off what we achieve. But we do publish those, and there is a link for those down the bottom of this particular slide. So I'm just going to hand over to Karen, and Karen's going to walk you through some of the preview that we're going to show now.
Thanks, Tim. So the first thing that we're going to have a look at is Smartlists. For those of you who have come from a GP background, you will be well aware of what Smartlists are. So the first thing we'll talk about is the Smartlist Designer. So the Smartlist Designer is what you use to build data queries in the cloud with zero code. So you can use the Query Designer application in the cloud to define, save and edit your queries. Once you've defined those queries, you can then view those query results from the list pages within Business Central. So to set up Smartlist Designer, you will need to find Smartlist Designer in AppSource. You can then install Smartlist Designer as an app and set it up within Business Central. Smartlist Designer, you can create and edit the query, as I mentioned previously. And to do this, you navigate to Smartlist Designer from 21 different list pages in Business Central. So initially, it will be available on a set of pages, but being able to build those queries yourself means that you can expand upon what is there and available. You can see from the picture that we've got here that when you're creating the query, you've got an option to select your own data sources. So you can choose from 1 to 4 tables for your query. The table relationships will be defined for you, or you can define your own. So if you're using a particular ID that links to another particular code on a record, you can link those yourselves. And then you can manage the fields you actually want to display in those lists and apply any set filters as well. You can then preview the results after you have created that query. You can save the query, give it a name, and assign it to one of your list pages, so it's readily accessible for you to use again. You can also manage your smart lists and the queries that you create. You can create, edit, or delete existing queries. You can export and import queries, assign different permissions to them, and define the navigation as well. One of the other features that's coming with the October release and is an actual preview now is the Company Hub. What the Company Hub allows you to do is view links to all of your companies from the one page. It also has links to your user tasks for those companies. If you have a look at the company list, you can click on the link, open the company. It will also show you some set KPIs. So cash accounts balance, overdue purchase invoice, and sales invoice amounts. One of the things with this is that Microsoft Ideas is a great place to express what you might like to see on a company overview dashboard, because this has come about for those reasons. This is what people are asking for within Business Central. So you set it up with links to the environments. Now, if you're all in the one environment, obviously you will set them up that way, but there is also functionality, as Tim was alluding to before, across the geographic locations. So if you do have those different instances, you will still be able to access those through a company hub as well. And I'll hand back over to Tim to have a chat about getting ready to migrate to Business Central.
Wow, that was awesome, Karen. Thank you for that. Okay, so what I want to do is talk about two things. So the first point is, okay, I'm not on Business Central at the moment. I'm using Nav, I'm using Great Plains, I might even be using something else. So what are my options to migrate from Nav or GP onto Business Central? If we talk about that, you do have, just move this around the other side again, you do have need to do an assessment to start off. And the assessment that you need to look at with MicroChannel is to evaluate the effort and associated costs, but also importantly to evaluate the technical fit. So we need to make sure that what you're coming from and going to fits your company. And as part of that, you can either go with what you've got to what you have, so stick with what you've got and go forward with what you already had, or you can actually take it as an opportunity to say, well, am I using the right set of technology? Should some of my users be using Teams? Should they be using a Power App, etc.? And then you can also compare the total cost of ownership. So in most cases, when you look at the total cost of ownerships, which we have tools to do that, you'll find that because our online products include all the infrastructure, the hardware, the software, etc., that the actual cost overall is less than what you've been paying in the past for licensing. So have a look at that. You can go set up a trial at any stage. So if you go to trials.dynamics.com, you can go set up a trial and have a look at the system. And you can also, there is an offer out that MicroChannel can talk to you about where you can renew your BREP on what we call CSPEP. So it's your business ready enhancement plan. It's the maintenance of the product that those that are paying that on the system. But you can transfer that to what we call CSPEP. You get all the benefits of business ready enhancement plan, but you also get access to the online system as well. So even if you're not considering transitioning in the next 6 months, this is once you sign up for that, you've got 3 years to work through it. So it is well worth looking at, but MicroChannel can tell you more about that particular offer. As I said earlier, so the way Nav works is you migrate or upgrade as you would have always done to BC14. This is not something you do in release. This is something that's done as a technical process. And the reason we do this with Nav is because the schema is very similar between each product. So it's actually better just to technically move it to BC14. And then from BC14, you can actually migrate your data directly from an on-prem system to online. And you can do that multiple times to test and play with. And you can also relook at any modifications. You can either bring them forward or you can actually revisit them and go more vanilla. If you're on Business Central, then you go directly on to the next version of Business Central. If you're GP 2015, 16 or 18 or GP, we do have a tool that is actually being released for Australia in October as well, that enables you to take your data, take your segments and convert them to dimensions, take opening balances and everything, go on to Business Central. So if you're actually happy with what you've got, then you can actually take that forward. You won't have all your historical data, but some of your data will be available because we have them in special list pages. It's important to know that that's an option. Also, another option is to use that tool to actually see what things are going to look and help you migrate. Or alternatively, you can look at an opportunity to do a re-implementation if your business has changed to that point that where you want to rethink a few things. So the next part, so that was migrating. So I'm already on NAV or GP. I want to migrate. This one is I'm already on Business Central and I need to update my Business Central. So what happens, and this is important for everyone to know. So once you're on Business Central online, I was talking to a customer only the other week and they were on GP 2010. They'd been on GP 2010 for a long time, obviously since I actually think they'd been on there for 10 years. And really the only value that GP was giving them was the same value they got 10 years ago. Nothing had been updated, nothing had changed. So when we talk about our online services and the way we do things today, it is about making it easier for you to keep current. And if you're on our online services, you will be kept current. So basically, all of our customers that are on Business Central today will get an option to upgrade the solution in October. This is an example on the screen, so I'm talking about October specifically at the moment. So you'll get a notification that I'll talk about it shortly about that you can set your upgrade window. If you don't set your upgrade window, you will be upgraded automatically. We're also checking customizations or extensions, we like to call them, but also apps at the moment to make sure those apps and those any changes you've done to the system are compatible with the new release. And if not, you will be notified and have a chance to change that. If the closer you are to standard, obviously the easier the upgrade will be, and you just assess it. I've had complex customers do no UAT and go live and seen very to none to little issues afterwards. And I've had non-complex customers just go from one version to another without really doing more smoke testing, I suppose. I always recommend doing some sort of testing to make sure you're happy. And the more you've extended the solution, the more you should think about the effort that you put in that. But you assess it and just determine what you want to do. So there is a major update process, and there is a documentation on how you schedule your update. It's very important that when you get the notification, you see that so that you can take it up in your own time. There is I think a 30-day window, which may still be 60 because of COVID-19. But there is a window. If the window's not strong enough for you or long enough for you, and you need help, then reach out to MicroChannel, raise a support case, and ask for more time. Normally, they're pretty good about that. So how do I access this preview that Karen showed a little bit of function from? So to be open, you won't be able to see the Smartlists function or the teams. That's why we had it as part of this particular presentation. But you will be able to see the Company Hub in the preview, as well as many of the other features that are mentioned in our roadmap. There's an admin center that you get to by putting /admin at the end of your tenant ID, or you can actually go up to the menu button in Business Central and you'll see it there as well. And you click on it and it brings you to this window here if you've got the right permission set. So if you can't get here, then it's because you're not admin on your system and you need to talk to whoever is admin on the system. So there's always got to be somebody. So in that system, you'll see all your environments. In my case, you can see 2 production environments, not very well named, and 2 sandboxes, also not very well named, but they tell me what they are and I'm playing with. And then you can see the versions of those particular systems. So this is where you see things. You see if there's updated versions. You can see if it's scheduled. You can create new environments. You can delete them and do all sorts of things from this particular window. If I go to the next stage, to do the preview, what you need to do is come in here and do new. You want to create an environment. I've called mine test, but maybe you want to call it something that means a little bit more than test. You type your sandbox. I've chosen country. So here's where if you want to play with US version, you can choose US here. And then once you've chosen the country, you'll see the available versions for that particular environment. So for a sandbox, you'll see there's whatever the current version is, 16.5, it was last week. And you'll see a preview in there at the moment. And you choose a preview and you create, and what that will do is go and show and create you a preview. And then to get to the preview, once it's deployed, which doesn't take long, you just click on the link where it says preview, and it will open up that environment for you to play with. If you want other users to get access to that particular environment, you just go to security and make sure that they're set up in security for access. And that's it. Then you can play with all the wonderful new things that are coming before it gets released. You could also work, if you've got extensions, you can get those extensions deployed to that sandbox and test them and make sure they're going to work the way you want them to work. And then you can assess the level of testing I need to do. So do you need to do just what I call smoke testing, which is making sure my standard processes still work? Can I post an invoice? Can I do a job, etc.? If it's a more complex extension of the system, then you may want to do more, a much higher level of testing. But if you work with MicroChannel, they can advise you on what's best for you. It's also important under the notification details that you've got your name and your email addresses in there of your businesses as well as MicroChannel, because this is how you find out about things. If you don't have your notification set up, then you won't be getting any communication from us, and that obviously will lead to some surprises. But it's important this is set up for you. This is our only way of communicating with customers directly via our service level agreement. There's a couple of other things on the screen: telemetry and reported outages. So that's useful in troubleshooting and reported outages. We do have, if the system, if something happens to the system, then we do have a direct way to tell our support team and our engineering team at the same way, and that's through the outages. So you've got history of that there as well, if you've ever had that challenge. Okay, so we've talked about this. So we just want to reiterate, I suppose, the benefits of moving to the cloud, of what the benefits you should be seeing. The first one is stay current on the latest technology. So when I look at TCO, total cost of ownership for Business Central Online, it's an interesting concept, because in the old days when you were working out TCO in a business, you would look at a 3 or a 5 year time span. I'm used to the 5 years, but I have seen 3, of where you're actually looking at the costs and what your return of value is going to be over that time. And then after that, it just becomes, that was the time that you were looking for a return. With online technology, my example before of my customer that's on GP 2010, they would actually be on BC 16 right now, and they'd be going to BC 17 next year. So the technology, hopefully the updates and everything we're doing, which are very much guided by our customers at aka.ms/BC Ideas, and we will share that link with you, very much guided by you, will mean that they would have got more value, because the product is not the same product, or it's not the same set of features that it was back 10 years ago. It's had a lot added to it. It works with the latest mobile technology. It works with Teams. It works on the latest browsers. So none of that they need to worry about. The other side of things is reduce costs and free up resources. So you're not paying for a perpetual license up front, and then you're also enabling agile development as well as agile setup of infrastructure and so on. And the third one, which is very important to understand, is improved security, privacy, and reliability. So we often talk about security, but you've got to know that, previously in previous careers and stuff like that, I've worked in industries and I've gone out when a server has gone down at a customer's site, or even 2 years ago, I was working on site and that customer had been hacked through a back door into their system, even though they had an IT department of 21 plus people. And the person had basically, when we did the review, the hackers had been on there for 2 years, just sitting in the background. That was an on-premise security. So when we talk about Business Central, it's on Azure. And when we talk about Azure, there's a trust center you can go to see what we're doing to ensure that your data and your information is kept private and secured. And you really can't outperform that. So definitely have a look at that. For those that are not on Business Central, you'll see a lot of the capabilities here, core capabilities of the system, from financial management, sales and service, project management, what I would call more job costing, supply chain management, the operational sort of management, and reporting analytics. So you'll see a lot of that functionality within the system. There are customers, and you can read about these transition journeys. The way we work as Microsoft, we tend to work with our partners a lot, so our partners have more of the stories than we do. But there are some stories that we've published of customers moving from Great Plains and NAV or Navision, Dynamics NAV, Dynamics GP, to Business Central. This is one of them, Farm Street Financial. So I put that in here. You can see they basically have also adopted Dynamics 365 Sales and also doing Power BI integration. So it's allowed them to get to a platform that they can then build on of what other services they couldn't build on beforehand. And then this customer here, Weeks Roses, same sort of thing, where they're now using the approvals for new customers and vendors. They're happy with the security. Their employees can work remotely. So that's a big one in these times where our Business Central customers didn't really need to do anything to enable remote connection to Business Central. And they just need to allow the people in. So you can see that sort of information there. So lots of good stories coming out of this. So there are licensing and resources for existing customers. As I mentioned earlier, there are some transition offers. So this one here has been around for a little while. So if you're on Dynamics AX, GP, NAV, or SL, you get a discount of 40% when moving to Business Central, as long as you're current in your enhancement plan. So as long as you're current on BREP, you can take this offer up, and that results in a 40% discount per user per month, which is quite a good offer. An even better offer, which has been around for only a couple of months now, that is a 60% discount. So this is only for this financial year till the 30th of June. So if your BREP's not paid or lapsed and due between now and June the 30th, you can take this offer. And this offer basically moves your Business Ready Enhancement to CSP Enhancement Plan. So everything Business Ready Enhancement Plan provides today, you're still valid to. You can actually, after taking this offer for a year, you can go back to Business Ready Enhancement Plan if for some reason you want to. But what it will do is allow you to renew up to 3 times, giving you the 60% plus discount. And what it does is gives you access to your on-prem, so you can still add users and everything to that on-prem, but it also gives you access to online as well. So if you want to transition, that's there easier. But even if you're not transitioning, there's actually no downside to this particular benefit. So if you choose up from a year from now, I want to transition, you'll be in a good place to do that. So have a look at that. There's a lot of details in this slide, but MicroChannel, your account executive from MicroChannel can explain this to you more. When you're going to Business Central, the only other thing that you need to one of the things you need to consider is you need to evaluate your current licenses. So we do have, I was talking to somebody the other day who has 487 licenses, but they have only 220 staff. So that doesn't make sense. So they will lower the number of licenses they have and lower the amount that they're paying per year on BREP. But you need to have a look at it. So concurrent users means that if I have 10 licenses, I can have 10 people anywhere, anybody in the organization logging it 10 times. If my business has 20 users that are using Business Central, that means any one of those, as long as I don't exceed 10 logins, any one of those people can log in. In a named user type, they need to basically have a license for each one of those users if they're going to access. And the licenses vary from the main access licenses, which is Essentials and Premium, to device licenses and team licenses. So depending on what they need to do, that's the license they'll need to have. The other thing to know is that we don't charge for multiple screens. So if you're one licensed user these days, you have access to the system, you can have 4 or 5, maybe even more tabs open up on your screen. So you can just switch between the tabs. And they are now different sessions. They're not, you don't pay for them separately, but they are different sessions, which means they don't interfere with each other. So that's important. So basically you just determine the number of named users, and then basically you say, well, this is how many users I need. Now, the good thing about subscription is you can add and take away from that subscription as you go forward. So you're not committed to 20 users for the rest of your life. If you need to add more users at Christmas time, you can do that. If you need to take some users off, you can do that as well. Okay. The other thing to understand is Business Central is more than an application today. Yes, it's got the core functionality that's in the left-hand side there of financial management, sales and service management, project management, operations management, reporting analytics, and supply chain management. It's also got built-in functionality that's using things like Azure services. And on the screen on the right hand, you can see a cash flow forecast using Cortana intelligence to work out your cash flow. You can see a sales forecast using machine learning. You can see a picture that can be identified by cognitive services. And then you see also data in this particular screen that's coming from CRM, not just Business Central. So that's Power BI. So you've got your Business Central application. You do have access to the Power Platform if you've got a Business Central license, and that changes depending on whether you've got a full user license or whether you've got a team member license. But there is access there, so look at the licensing guide for the full details on that. And you are actually getting Azure services. So people often ask, well, what is the data redundancy of Business Central? Well, it's actually the data redundancies of SQL, the Azure services that matters. And we don't take data out of this region, but we do have data in more than one location within this region to make sure that your data is secured. So Australian data doesn't go to the US, for instance. It remains here in Australia, but it's in more than one implementation, so that if something was to go wrong, we have got access to your data. And we do have the ability to kind of roll back within 30 days, I think, of snapshots of the data. So there's a whole lot of resources on the screen that you're welcome to go and click on. There you can learn more details. So that's what these are all for. And there is a new Microsoft Business Applications SMB Dynamics 365 page that's out as well.
Thanks, Tim. Action from here for any of our MicroChannel clients is to contact your account managers. Most of you will know who they are, and if not, you certainly know MicroChannel's contact details, and we'll put you in contact with the right person.